Whether you're a Class 5 rafter or just looking for a couple of laughs, these two have you covered. Welcome to Aaron and Zach's Better Than Mediocre Rafting Show.
All right, well, welcome to Aaron and Zach's Mediocre Rafting Show. We're going to be particularly mediocre today. Zach isn't here today, unfortunately, so I got Steve Welch here to help me out. Steve, great to have you back on the show.
Good to be here. I'll try and fill in for Zach.
Yeah. I think you actually do a better job than Zach does of holding your own in terms of the argument. Zach takes some pretty ludicrous positions, so yours are more. I don't know. Yours are easier I think, for you to support. I guess we'll say. Yeah. If you haven't done so, please hit that like button. Of course, subscribe and ring that bell so you get notified anytime Zach posts anything new on Gear Garage. Does Zach say anything else in the intro? I don't know. Zach's gonna be annoyed by this already. He's already gonna be upset with us. So, yeah, definitely. Ooh. So yes, it's my first time running things, so just give you guys a warning. So it may be a little slower and not as smooth as when Zach does it. He kind of behind the scenes, it's actually interesting seeing what he sees now versus you're seeing, Steve. There's a lot more buttons and options to click. So, but anyways, so we've got a few videos to watch today. This show might be shorter today, and that's fine. You know, we may not go as long, and that's okay. But we've got some good footage to watch, and we hopefully have, you guys have some comments or questions. Throw stuff out there, and we'll get going here. So, Steve, we were just talking before we went live. The cast before the cast, we were talking about Wildcat Rapid on the Rogue and how you finally this summer figured out your method for running Wildcat.
Yeah, it changed a bit. It was sort of one of those breakthroughs that makes it easier to sleep the night before. Now.
How many years have you been running Wildcat Rapid?
Yeah, I did my first road trip in 1976, so I'm not very good with math. You and Zach are the math material. You're the math teacher. Well,
yes, that's easy. That's it's like 45, 46 years, right?
Right, so
45 years.
46 years.
Yeah, 45 years. Yeah.
More than once every year. So enough to think that I'd have it figured out, but not enough to really figure it out. But this year there was a breakthrough. I think I feel better.
Nice. Well, so we've got some footage of Wildcat here that we can bring up, and I will make it. How does it look right now? It looks like that. Okay, let's go full screen. All right, and then I'm gonna make sure. Yeah, there we go. All right, doing well. So we'll watch. This is actually Inflatable Kayaker, but this is some. I think this. Do you want to just watch it through, and we'll just kind of talk about their line, and then talk about what you do, or do you usually run this right side over here? This is on the Rogue River.
I'm way more used to running the right side than the left side. I know that you can run the left side, and I haven't experimented with it. This is sort of the more common way.
And this is the rapid also. We were talking about how it's got that long leading that they were just finishing down in our show last week, and there's no way you're going to walk down and scout this whole thing. I mean, so, ooh boy, this looks bad, huh?
Yeah, we've had some incidents there with inflatable kayaks and rafts getting this close together, and it's a scary situation. We had an inflatable kayak go under a raft that was pinned.
Yeah. You mean something like this right here?
I don't know where this is going, but it doesn't look good. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, this is the classic spot, I think, right here. This is the rocks in the middle of the river. You got to go right or left. This is the classic, make a decision early, go one way or the other. And so what's your preferred route down here?
Let's play this through a little bit longer, and we'll maybe talk about this.
Oh yeah, we could talk about this too. I mean, this always sucks when your ore gets stuck like that when you don't ship it early enough and they get stuck down in. You break ores, it just causes a lot of problems. So yeah, but it looks like they're spinning. He's spinning it off pretty nice, kind of pivoting and spinning the boat off. That looks like that's going to work pretty well to get them off. And this cat looks really stuck. I mean, I've heard stories of people having to walk out. I don't know. Can you actually walk out there and like literally lift a boat off the rocks and get it back in the water? Can you walk out there? Is that possible? Or is that someone just making up that story?
Someone might be making up that story. You might be able to catch the eddy below that island of rocks that's in the middle and get to it, like where this inflatable kayak is.
Maybe that's what they
Get
talked about,
back up
catching
there,
the eddy down, catching the eddy down at the bottom. That's probably what they meant. Yeah.
You're pretty isolated up there.
All right. So yeah, so yeah, I'm curious to hear your. We can start way up here at the beginning too. So
And
I take it you go down this.
Yeah, and the problem comes at low water, not at high water. And on the rogue, maybe 1,200 or 1,100 or less, and sort of the easy right-hand line closes out. There's some rocks over there that create ledges and make it sort of hard to go that way, and you have to dodge them, to the left of them, right up where that blue boat is downstream. And you have to get off to the left and then back to the right. And what I ended up doing this year, and I think this is what the everyone else, all the smart people have always done, but make it sort of cut it into two rapids, cut the eddy below that big island, and do that half of the rapid, and then do the bottom half of the rapid as sort of a second piece, rather than try and make this whole thing in one continuous line. Where if you stay in that current, you have to go back to the right. It's a lot harder to make. That's where these people are having trouble. So they're not making the move all the way back to the right.
So you're saying the island up, catching the eddy behind this island upstream that we're kind of looking at now?
The big initial island, that island, yes. Yeah, there's slow water, there's slack water that comes off of that, and you can really slow down. Again, it's one of those situations where you're moving away from where you want to go, right? Like whatever, start left to go right type thing. But so you're potentially making the rapid harder by making it left or moving to the left, but you catch an eddy, you catch some really slow water, you sort of get a chance to, for me, it was a chance to like recenter everything and then find that line that goes back to the right, and then just make one smooth sweeping move across the strong current back over to the right of everything. And it worked really well. The couple of times I did it.
I mean, I think that's a really good point though, is you're talking about how, like, particularly with a gear boat, when you got all that gear and it's really heavy, or a paddle boat full of people, same thing. It's like a gear boat in a way. They're heavy boats. If you're just two of you or twoing, whatever, but changing your momentum, like you're going right to left, and then trying to go back left to right, that's brutal. But you catch the eddy and you're like, okay, I can just stop here, lose all momentum, and then I pull out with momentum in the direction I want to go. Yeah, that sounds really nice. That sounds like obvious, like an obvious, like, not that I've ever done it. I've never done it going there, but I was like, oh, that's really. I will say I do have a couple concerns. Is the eddy big enough? Like let's say there's a bunch of like 3 people following you down. Can you guys all? Is that going to get messy if everyone tries to pull in the eddy and then everyone tries to pull out?
No, and that inflatable kayak and the situation that it runs into in this video, where it comes across the other boat that's stuck there. I mean, spacing out before you go into this rapid is really, really helpful. Like giving a lot of space in there. At the same time, and it's also hard to explain what I just explained.
Yeah.
On this last trip, the 2 guides who were following me, I thought I made it really clear, and they both struggled to really understand it. So,
in terms of providing enough space, or in terms of catching the eddy?
Catching the eddy and then seeing the left to right line that cuts through between the 2 big obstacles.
Let's see if we can get back up to there.
Yeah, this video doesn't really show a really, at least
like you're talking like right in here. Like the inflatable kayak is pretty close to the bottom of the island here, maybe a little farther back. No, we don't get a good view. I mean, that was better.
I'll leave it there where it is. That's fine. Yeah, this is a good spot. I would be 20 feet left of that.
Yeah,
this is the line you take at higher flows, when you just want to go right, when you can go right, when you don't have to worry about those rocks. And you can just stay 10 feet off of the right-hand shore and go all the way down. You sort of clunk over a few things, but it's pretty easy. Like you don't have to miss anything. But when the water gets lower, right in front of where that blue boat is, it starts to close out. And where that inflatable kayak is, if you are 20 feet to the left of that, you're out of the current. You're in slow water, and you're sort of gently coming down that side.
Okay.
You can make the move back to the right from a sort of a starting position rather than from a in motion position. Does that make any sense? Like, you know,
Totally.
it is when you can.
Mm-hmm.
You still have to cut. You have to cut across more current, so that is counterintuitive. Like this inflatable kayak's only going to have to move from the middle of the river to the right-hand edge of the river. If you're in the eddy to the left, you have to move from the left-hand edge of the river from all the way across all that current. But because you can start with no momentum or with much less momentum, makes it easier to make that move rather than try and be speeding past the freeway exit and try and make that move. This sort of allows you to go slower before you have to make the exit.
No, that totally makes sense. Like right where that raft is right now, that's one of the reasons the inflatable kayak runs into them is because they're trying to pull back upstream to pull off those rocks on the right shore, which is a smart move to slow down so they're not gaining speed so they can turn back and cut back there. But even that, they didn't make it back to the right. You know, they were pulling, and they ended up going left of the island. So now when you were talking about catching the eddy behind the island on the left, are you actually catching the eddy and stopping, or are you just kind of drifting that slower water kind of behind that rock shoal thing and then kind of pulling back out and going back across?
Either or. Like the first time I did it, I caught the eddy, came to a complete stop, and I had a choice of either going left of that pile of rocks down there at the bottom or back to the right. But 2 times with a bigger, heavier gear boat, it's just been catching that slack water, slowing it down, turning my angle so that I'm the opposite angle that blue boat is right now, and then sweeping across that current from left to right.
Well, that seems way better too, because if you just hit the slow water, the boat behind you can hit the slow water and just kind of drift behind you. Versus if you actually catch the eddy, that's going to create a lot of chaos. Which, you know, Zach always comes back to boat order a lot, and I think that's one of the things is doing stuff in a way that it's easy to maintain your boat order. And by like hitting that slow water the way you did, you slow down, and the boat behind you can catch that slow water. They'll slow down, and you'll be able to maintain your boat order versus.
And if you had to, you could put more than one boat all the way in that eddy. You could come to a complete stop with 3 or 4 boats probably waiting in there. And I'd rather have people pile up in the eddy than on the rocks, right? Like it's a better place to run into each other. But
that's actually, I mean, that's another good point about that is if you're set up to get way over there, you can see down to the rock at the time when you need to pull into eddy to catch eddy. So you're like, oh man, there's a bunch of chaos down there and all this stuff going on. Hey, I'm going to catch this eddy and we're going to regroup and make sure it's good to go. So that's another advantage.
Yeah, you could wait there.
Yeah, totally. I feel like this is a classic problem with the inflatable kayak running into the raft is that, you know, inflatable kayaks are always going downstream. And Zach loves to teach, you know, pulling away from the line to danger. I don't know if you heard him talk about that. You know, we always just talk about pulling away from danger. He now is all pull away from the line from danger, which I like.
That makes sense.
Yeah. But when you are pulling upstream, you're just like, if anyone's like inflatable kayaks, they're not good at ferrying upstream. That's a mess. And particularly people who are usually not that experienced with them. And so this is what the struggle is maintaining boat spacing with inflatable kayaks. You don't want them miles behind where you can't see them and you can't help them. But you also don't want them running into you and going underneath you. So I feel like that's always a battle. What do you do? How do you like to manage that?
So what we started doing on our commercial trips is either sending the gear boats ahead and waiting with the paddle boats and the inflatable kayaks a long time, or sending the paddle boats and the inflatable kayaks through first. And then if a gear boat gets stuck, there's nobody, we don't have any smaller boats coming behind them. I think if you've seen something like that, if you've seen an inflatable kayak go underneath a raft, you don't want to ever see it again, and you become really paranoid about it. The other place that it happens is in the fish ladder. Big boats get stuck, and little boats don't, and they can ride up on top of the bigger boats. And it's a scary situation. It might be something that's, you know, I mean, I think if you find yourself in that situation in an inflatable kayak, it's terrifying. Or if you're in an oar boat and an inflatable kayak is coming down to you and you know that's going to happen, grab that person and pull them up in the boat with you. Like,
and you gotta grab them really quick because they're there, then they're gone. You know, it's like it's so fast. I mean, it's same thing with the swimmer coming down towards your boat. Same idea. If there is a swimmer and you're stuck there, it's that same problem.
Same thing with swimmer. Same thing with anytime your boat is stuck. Yeah. And you and I have seen enough boats get stuck and watched people get out of their boats and push them off of rocks. And when they're standing alongside their boat pushing, I don't think either of us are too nervous. But when they cross in front of the upstream of the boat or downstream of the boat, in shallow water, and they start pulling on it or pushing on it, it's just agonizing to watch sometimes, because the threat of getting swept underneath it or pulling the boat over on top of you in shallow water is a scary thing.
Oh, yeah, totally. Yeah, no, it's, I agree. It's terrifying. And you got to be, really careful. Like, it's not you. I think we've all been there. You start getting pulled underneath the raft. You're like, or worse, you're just pulling it and you start to slip and the boat starts going over you. So yeah, you have to be really careful there. So, okay, I'm sure you've never been on a trip with a raft stuck here at this spot, but it looks like a challenging place to get a raft off, because it's not that close to shore. It's just like, it's a really bad wet spot. What, I'm assuming you're never the one that gets stuck. So, but like you're on a trip and somebody gets stuck there, and you're not always lucky enough to end up right next to them to be able to help them out. How do you help people out at this spot?
I'll tell you a great story, because it just happened in October, and the end of the story just happened last week, which makes it a better story. Before our last road trip, I stopped by Orange Torpedo Trips. I was talking to Eric Weisseth, who about fishing trips, and I said we were thinking about camping at Wildcat, and he said, "Oh, that's cool, and you can pick up all the gear that floats through when everybody gets stuck there." And I sort of laughed, thinking, that doesn't ever, it's not really going to happen. It did. We were in camp at late in the day, and a little dry bag came floating by, and we paddled out and got it. It was sort of funny. It was like, oh, wow, it is happening. Hiked up, and there were 2 boats stuck. 2 of 3 stuck in Wildcat on 2 different spots. One on that big pile of rocks, one on the upper pile of rocks. I think it has a name, Alligator Rock or something. And that's why I talked to you last week about limited resources. One guy on shore with a rope. Nobody available to go upstream and warn anybody. We didn't have a lot of resources to help them, but 2 of our guides went up and lent a hand. One of them ended up hiking to the top of the rapid and stopping traffic, whatever it was, upstream awareness.
Did they hike up river right or river left?
River right.
Okay. Yeah.
That's the easiest way to access this spot.
Totally. Yeah.
They had a throw bag out, they had a rope out, they were pulling on the boat, they were deflating tubes, they were doing things. Not a lot you can do when there's only one person on shore. One guide hiked up. Eric himself and some other fishing guides came by. They stopped him. They all came down. So eventually they got more resources. They were able to pull everybody off. Probably there more than an hour and to pull 2 boats off, and everything's fine. They got everything back. We ended up sharing the campsite with them. And this is where the story, I think, really took a turn for the best, because in those situations, it's sort of awkward. This poor guy, Kyle was his name, was sort of out there in a tough situation. We helped him out, moved our campsite so that they could share camp with us, all that kind of stuff. He was cool. The next morning, he brought us 6 breakfast burritos, which was really, really nice, to thank us. And then last week, we got a card in the mail with a $50 Starbucks gift card.
Oh, nice.
Thank us again. Yeah.
That's cool. That's great.
Kyle, if you're out there, man, hats off to you for that follow-up.
That's nice.
Yeah, that was cool. Yeah.
So I don't know if you noticed, we've got some comments. So first one is one where they're he's trying to get them to make, Sean's trying to do the cool thing, which maybe it shows up there. It doesn't show up here, but thanks, Sean. But you'll appreciate this. This is from Zach, Sage Wisdom Crew here today. And then Jaron's comment. And Aaron is here too.
Yeah, Jaron.
Yeah, thanks, Jaron. Much appreciated. Yeah, and yeah. Jaron, totally agree. Good river karma. Oh, here we go. Some ideas. Michelle saying, yeah, tube deflation worked for self-rescue. Yeah. I'm a huge fan of tube deflation. How did you guys have the boats end up getting off that time, Steve?
I think they deflated some tubes. I didn't actually involve myself in the rescue efforts.
Okay.
But I know they did have to use ropes, and they did end up getting 3 or 4 people pulling, and I know that helped. But I don't know if they also deflated tubes.
Yeah. I feel like it depends on where the boat's stuck. If it's stuck right underneath on the bottom, and like sometimes deflating the floor helps some, so it can slide off. And I mean, I'm sure you've been on trips where you run the boat softer and it'll slither and kind of slop through things. So, no, I'm a big fan of deflating tubes. Well, sweet. And so what is your preferred techniques here? What have you found works best when you've been assisting with the actual rescue? Are you there? Or are you frozen?
And it's tough. No, all of the above, right? Like shifting weight, deflating tubes, trying to get a little bit of leverage. Something that I've seen done, always surprises me how well it works, is that sea anchor technique. Where you tether a bailing bucket to your boat and chuck it in the river, and provides a tremendous amount of force. And if you can get it in the right place, you can get
not have the handle rip off.
Yeah, well, I've had that happen too. But
yeah, me too. That's what I was like, yeah. No,
it's a reason to put rope handles on your bailing buckets. No, I thought sometimes I've seen that work. I don't know that it's a common thing or my first go-to, but it does work. Leverage help.
Yeah, totally. I've done that, and actually I've used my body to do that a couple of times too, just like hanging off like the bow line or the stern line, just kind of dragging the boat around. A certain spot where it's just kind of stuck in this weird spot, and you're trying to get around. You don't have leverage because, like, a lot of times you're stuck on something, you just don't have any leverage. You don't have any purchase, and so you just like sea anchor, because I didn't have a bucket in my boat, and I was just like kind of hanging on to it, and it kind of pulled the boat around, and away we went.
That's good to know. If we ever in a boat together and we're stuck, I'll know who the one, and we don't have a bucket. I'll remind you that you said you would just do that for us. Aaron, the sea anchor.
There we go. Perfect. Here's another interesting comment. I'm not sure. Maybe Captain 3 on the Milford was fresh. We shot a boat after 2 days of pulling on the oar tower and breaking the frame.
Wow.
Does he mean he literally shot it with a gun? Or they like shot the boat? Like, because like they do bring guns on those trips in the fall. It's like actually shooting the boat, or we just like the boat was shot after 2 days. I don't know.
I assumed it was actually shot it with a gun to deflate a tube and basically shift that around. 2 days. I think about shooting a boat.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Jason.
Wow.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. Ugh. Yeah. Oh, here we go. Yep. With the gun. So add that to your rescue kit. Bring your gun along to be able to shoot out a tube.
Last week we had a flare gun that we needed to bring. Now we need another gun.
Yeah, it came off after they did that. So maybe if you'd done that earlier, Jaron, if you shot that tube right away, you wouldn't have had to wait for 3 days. Just been the first day. Oh my gosh, that sounds brutal. Hey, you ready to? Should we move on to another video?
Sure.
All right. Let's see here. All right. We're going to one that Zach recommended here, and we'll see what this is. I have no idea what this is. Just to give you a heads up, we'll see. This is Zambezi footage, so we'll see what happens.
Goes wrong.
All right, let's see. Do we have to wait a while? Is he talking for a long time? All right, yeah, he's talking for a long time. Wow. Okay, here.
I've never been to the Zambezi.
There we go. Me neither. That's interesting. He looks like he's holding this frame on a paddle boat. Okay. It doesn't look that bad, and they're just pulling everyone in. Was that the footage Zach was referring to? I guess he's got a bunch of them. Yikes.
Wow.
That was actually nice slow-mo on that. I mean, so do you think if they had over left, they would have stayed upright?
You guys talked about that last week. I think those kind of reflexes are like pretty last minute, last ditch effort. Like if they had over lefted before they hit the hole, maybe, but to think that you can react that quickly seems a little overly optimistic to me.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. But
it doesn't look like they hit, and the guide is doing that.
Yeah.
If everybody in that boat had been able to do what the guide did, they would have had a better chance, it seems, right? Get over to the left.
Yeah, totally.
That's classic. That image right there, when you look at that,
go back
that's why it goes wrong. Like if everybody could have done, if everybody had the instincts that guide does of getting to that high side, that's great. But look at they're all going to the right, and the guide's going to the left. That's a Well, when you see pictures of boats flipping, it's commonly guests are on the low side, or the passengers are on the low side of the boat.
Yeah,
but, I mean,
totally. He called to get down before hitting that, which I think that does help a lot. I find that get down gets those outside tubes to ride higher, and the boat's more stable. But once he calls to get down, there's no way you're going from a get down back to an over. Like your get down is a commitment, right? You got down the bottom. You're not going to hop up from that and then do an over to the left, which is interesting. So I think once you've done a get down, that's it. Yeah, that's your move, and you're just like, I hope this works. But you can't easily go from a get down to hop back up and do a high side very easily. Like they're down the bottom, and that's what happened. They're the bottom. The boat pitches up. They all swing over to the low side, and then the boat's just going to tumble over here. Oh,
oof.
Yeah. Let's see how it goes from here. Or they can show us more of it.
I've heard like warm worm and alligators, right?
Yeah, and I think the hippos are worse.
Hippos, yeah, that's it.
The hippos are, yeah. Was that no, that was a guest. That wasn't a guide on that one. Going back to that one for a sec. Oof. Yeah.
Wow.
That actually worked pretty well, huh?
Oh no.
Oh, that did. Now they're surfing. Wow. Let's go back and watch a couple of those again. I think that's a tough spot to be is like, this is the classic, is being on the back of the boat. The guide does it's hard to ride on the back and stay on it. I think that's extremely impressive to be able to stay on the back when it's like that. And you can see he's grabbing the line, but he also rides it well. I mean, how does he stay on? That was amazing. He's got to have like a foot cup or something there. That was impressive. What do you think of that? You like this line here? Just stuff in there and see, now they're getting down, which is like on the left. That makes sense to me. But I'd kind of be happy having weight up on that rock, a little more up on that right tube. But they do it all the time, so I'm sure this is the best option. Yeah.
Looks like a pretty aggressive line over there with a lot of water going into that rock and then having to get to the left.
Yeah, but I'm guessing that's their best option. That's why they go over there. So.
Oarboat.
Oh yeah, oarboat would be scary here. Yeah, it's hard to hold on to your oars, and then they're swinging around. I think this is one of the reasons they stopped running on oarboats here, is just because of the danger of the oars flying all over the place and getting hit by an oar. Like the guy's doing a good job of trying to hold on to that one oar and keep it from smacking him. But just, I mean, when she broke the oar. Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, that is a nasty surf. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Oh, jeez.
I think it pushes the boat out.
Oh gosh.
Does the paddle boat drive the oarboat out of the hole? Yeah.
Yeah, totally. They both go out. That was
And then
amazing.
flips. Oh, that was nice.
Yeah, I mean,
Teamwork.
I don't know if there's much in particular we want. You want to go back and watch any of those? Or have anything else to say about them? Or
No, not really.
okay, yeah, those were impressive though. All right, now, Steve, have you done much lining of rafts? Have you done that much? Yeah, okay. So the next one we're going to look at is like, oh, we got a bunch of comments here. His audio is worth it. Whose audio are we talking about?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Maybe that Zambezi guide.
Oh yeah, Zach. Yeah. Well, I don't know how to let the play. So yeah, they hit the holes on purpose.
Do they want them to hold air though, or is that just
they can't hold air? Yeah, that's like a softer boat definitely is less flippy, but yeah. Yeah, we used to say, yeah, the hippos are, that's what we've all heard. Yeah, watch out for the hippos. Oh, okay. There we go. Thanks. Patella Gap. Ooh, that does not sound good. Mm-hmm. Those boats are super loose. Yeah. Tight boat. Yeah. I don't know that last they probably wouldn't have surfed as long in that hole if they'd been a tight boat on that last surf, but I think they're much more likely to have flipped as well. So that's one of those trade-offs.
I think I'd rather flip than get surfed in a hole like that. Like
yeah, particularly. Yeah, particularly with oars.
Yeah, that looked brutal.
Yeah, totally. Okay, here we go. So this is Jarbidge Falls. I'm not sure if you guys know where that is. You know Jarbidge Falls, right, Steve? On the yeah. Why am I going back on the name of? Yeah, on the Jarbidge. Yeah, on the Jarbidge when you're running the Bruno and the Jarbidge and the Bruno. Yeah. So I
watched these videos the other day. I couldn't really figure out how this boat, like this is where it started, how they got there.
Yeah.
Seems to be in the middle of the rapid.
We can start a little before here. We'll start a little earlier here, and then we can just see I mean, you could probably get a raft down there if you're a superstar and the boats are really light, but it would be sketchy and you're in the middle of nowhere and it's not really worth it. Have you done this portage here, Steve?
No.
I mean, to portage the boats would suck. I mean, it'd be awful. Yeah.
It seems like that's what they did. It was a combination of lining and portaging because
yeah, but to portage from the top all the way down would be miserable. And yeah, when we did this, we ended up lining. I think we lined the boats all the way down on the trip we did, but our boats were smaller and lighter and didn't have all that gear in them, which made it a little bit easier. Now here they're lining their first boat. It looks like they got a rope above and maybe a rope below. This is the interesting thing too, is what your preferred technique. See this? I don't know. This is interesting. I mean, in general, I haven't found if I have a line from shore, I really want someone in the boat. I'm not, I feel like if I'm lining it and they need a line of the boat, it seems pretty sketchy to have them rowing it. I'd rather just push the boat off and let it like kind of work its way down, or in this case, pull it over the rocks here on the left a little bit versus expose someone to the swim. That's me. I mean, I don't know. What's your feeling?
No, this is the question I had, is how did that boat and that guide get there? Like, did they commit to getting that far and then, okay, I'll go row down to that spot and then we'll get some lines on me and you can pull me into shore? Because what's downstream of him does not look good. And it's like, oh, I know I'm going to get stuck there. And then you can line me into shore and I'll get out of the boat and we can line it from there on down. I don't really know. I didn't get how they got to this starting point.
Yeah, I'm guessing they had a line on it from the top. I would be terrified to row down there without a line from the top, because if for some reason, oh man, like, yeah, I mean, you didn't get stuck, you just slid over, which can happen, or you bounce off a different way. Yeah, that's what I was assuming, but that's a good point. I didn't think about them just throwing a line right there, because it looks like it's on the stern, like it's on the far end away from him. So that gives me more, what I mean, versus the near side. It's on the far side, far away from shore, if you notice.
Yeah.
So
that's what it looks like to me.
Yeah, so I'm guessing they had it on it before. But
and there's no way that person could have gotten out to the boat without having been on it when it arrived at that spot.
Yeah. But so like the person on the boat, then the boat's way heavier, and like I think that's a big thing about lining boats is you lighten up the boat. The boat looks pretty light. And now this just seems super sketchy. I mean, we've all gotten out of boats and pushed off of rocks and stuff before, but usually if I'm getting out of my boat to push off of a rock, it's a place where I'm like, yeah, if I swim, it's not gonna be fun, but it's not like I don't ever want to swim here. I mean, he did a really nice job too. That was a really nice controlled move. I mean, that worked well. I mean, in the end of the day, I'll say that worked.
That swim looks horrendous.
Yeah, totally.
I don't really want anybody.
And I guess I think that's Larry Fredrickson right there. You remember Larry? He went on a couple of Illinois trips with us a long time ago. Anyways, but I was going to say is the other thing is that with the lining of the boats, I mean, if they didn't up above and push it down and around like they're doing now, I don't see why not just do it that way. You know what I mean? Like the whole way down. What is it really worth that risk? Like, yeah, you're right. The rope might get stuck on a rock or something somewhere, and you might have some problems. But this is the part that looks rough. I think we did line it through this part, through that chute, but we may have had a little bit more water when we did it. The water levels might have been a little different. I'm pretty sure we lined it through there as well. But yeah, I mean, this makes sense, and this is more conservative there because you don't want to get your raft stuck. And the rafts have a lot more gear in it. We just had really light rafts, smaller rafts. So, when you're lining rafts, Steve, did you run a stern and a bow line, or just a stern line and a bow line? What was your kind of go-to?
I've done both. The bow and the stern, I think, is you have a lot more control over it. One of the reasons that boat might have been in the middle with a guide in it is when you're lining, you can really only work in one direction, and a lot of times you want the boat out in the middle of the river, and all you can do is pull it closer to you, and that's frustrating.
But then wait,
they didn't want it along the left-hand shore.
So you say that again? What you say that again? What you just said?
If you're lining from the left-hand side of the river, you can't make your boat move towards the right-hand side of the river. And,
for rowing it, you're talking about for getting some rowing.
Yeah. So then there's times, when you're like, hey, I want the boat to I want to push it out. I want to push it out back out into the current, and you can't when you're lining from one side. And that might be a reason why they had somebody in there to just keep it away from the left-hand shore long enough to get to a certain spot. But the 2-rope thing is better. Something I was just thinking about is, I mean, before I thought about it, probably would have used Throwbags. I think that's a common. I don't think you need a stronger rope than that. One on the stern, one on the bow. Carabinered off. But what would happen if you put the carabiner on the D-ring and then ran the rope through the carabiner so that you were holding onto both ends of the rope?
Mm-hmm.
Because there are times when you got to let go, like it goes wrong.
And you don't have a knot on the one end, so it would just slip it through. Yeah,
just let go. Yeah, don't have a knot. Let go, and it would just slide through, and you wouldn't have a rope in the middle of the river. You wouldn't have 75 feet of throwbag dragging down behind that boat, which more often than not creates a problem, either for you and when it gets jammed in a rock and your boat is surfing out in the middle of the river, or when it has to get cut and you leave rope in the river. Seems like you could avoid that situation if you just looped it through there and had sort of a 2-to-1, whatever. Held on 2 pieces.
We used to do that. Like at Zeta Rapid down in Chile. There was this eddy that these boats would get. We would ghost put them down. They get stuck in this eddy on River Right, and so you'd have to get them out of this eddy down to the drop. And so we do basically kind of what you're saying, Steve, is we take the bag end of the throw bag and actually clip it to shore with an anchor. Then we take the other end and we'd run it around like the tubing, the top tubing on the frames. You know, the frames have like the round tubing on them. That makes sense. Where the tower. So we'd run around the tower, and then you could pull, and you'd have the 2-to-1 to pull. And then once you got up to drop, it would go off and you'd let go, and then it would just snake out. And so you, like you said, you wouldn't have to worry about it getting stuck. And it was really, that worked really well in that case. I think that's a good little tool to have in your tool belt is like, hey, setting it up so you can let go of one end of the rope. Like maybe I need to get to a spot, then I'm going to ghost boat it from there. I need to get it to a certain spot, pull it there, and then I just want to send it off.
So in this scenario right here on the jar bridge, if that boat comes off of there and starts going down the wrong way, and you can't hold on to it anymore,
you don't want the rope on it.
Your only option is to let go of the rope. It's attached to the boat, fixed. Nobody can undo it. I'm not sure what would happen if a boat went through that slot with 75 feet of throw bag.
You're right. It's probably better off without the throw bag on it, right? Like at that point, if you're like, hey, I hope it goes through there, having a throw bag floating behind it's not helping the situation. So that's an interesting thing. Yeah, definitely interesting to consider. Here we got a lot of comments here. Hold on, we need to go through some comments. I think we're way backed up. Well, oh wow. Where were we?
We're back in Africa.
I think we're just past Africa. Here we go. I think this is nothing like snapping oar. It's just water power. I feel like that happens a lot, particularly with locks, where you're holding one end and it just gets wrapped underneath the boat and snapped for sure. Willy Bum Bum pizza, a slice of pizza. I don't get that Willy Bum Bum, but do you understand the reference? The slice of pizza? No. Yeah, pepperoni. There we go. Yeah, there was the Bruin on the jar bridge. Yeah, not worth it. Take a raft on the jar bridge. That's an interesting thought, Todd. I'll say, like, when we did it, we had some R2s with us that were 12-foot boats. They had a great time. We lined this whole rapid. We never took the boat out of the river, but the boats were a lot lighter, a lot smaller. And so like that one nasty little sheet, we just pushed them down and they floated through it just fine. Steve, one thing I was going to say is, like, I'm actually a big proponent of the one line, using just one line instead of 2 lines. I've had much more success with that. And like how, I guess, sorry, getting ahead of ourselves. Yeah. Rocks are difficult, way undercut. Yes. Yeah. Crazy dangerous. Yeah, and that's what they did here, Zach, is what you're describing right now here. Is that's what exactly they did. Carry 50 point right at the bottom. Yeah. What level is the river? I feel like that's kind of a normal flow for it. Zach's saying 1,000. I was guessing lower, but it could be 1,000. Yeah, no, I don't think Steve's recommending to ghost boat it down either, are you, Steve? You're just saying if for some reason you start to lose the boat, and you're like, you're going to get pulled off the rock and you're going to have to let go of the rope. Instead of letting go of the rope and having that rope drag down behind it get snagged, you could release it that way. Yeah.
And Aaron, that I think is an advantage of having 2 ropes. Is it becomes a team effort, and if you and I are working a boat down through this rapid, and maybe we are using this looped technique where neither of us are tethered to the boat permanently. Like, I could let go of you could be downstream of me. I could let go of my line completely and let the boat swing past you. Then I can reposition myself below you if the boat's in next to shore, reattach it, and we can sort of pendulum teamwork the thing down, as opposed to, and sometimes having that lead boat, that lead line really helps pull the boat back out into the current or pull it downstream. When you're just lining a boat from upstream, all you can do is slow it down and stop it.
Okay, so and I think that's something to clarify. I don't just line from upstream when I would do that. I would do is like, basically, if we go back, oh man, we got so many comments. Shoot. So what I would do is, for example, on the Jarbridge, when we did it, is like here, I would have someone, like I bring it down to where they are right now. And I don't like to walk down with the boat. I like to sit in one spot and I'll belay the boat down to a spot, right? So I'd belay it down to there, and then there'd be someone to catch it, and they would catch the boat and hold the boat. And then I'd walk down past them, go down until I find another good secure spot downstream of them. And this is what I like about this technique, is then they can turn the boat sideways and they can really push it out in the middle of the river if they need to. Like, for example, they could push it out around the rock and I could pull it in behind the rock, depending on what we were doing. And so that way, kind of doing what you're saying. So I can pull downstream, but you got to read it as you go and say, what are the key spots? When do I need to be pulling downstream? When do I need to be upstream? But I really like the one line on it when I'm using that with a partner and you're just leapfrogging. So it's like, okay, I'll go to a spot. Okay, upstream. Okay, go ahead, push it off. They push it off, pull it down, belay it down to the next eddy. That person goes down, grabs it again. Then I walk down. And so you're kind of leapfrogging down. I find it works really well. And you don't have to worry about the boat getting out and the ropes kind of spinning around and getting spun and caught in each other if the boat spins. So that's why I like that one. I think there are definitely times where the two ropes work better. But I also feel like then you have to have two people who are good at managing ropes, which is hard to find. And I like, I mean, this is me. It'd be like, whatever. My second could be anybody then, right? And then I'll be like, yeah, I'm lining. Hey, you go to that eddy and just hold on to it. And then,
I think the important thing you said is there are times when having two ropes helps. And
totally.
Knowing that lining a boat sometimes involves more than one rope is good knowledge. To just think, oh yeah, well, if we had two ropes here, let's put two ropes on it.
Yeah.
But and again, the more ropes you introduce, the scarier it gets. So there's
Yeah. The other thing I'll say about this, and this guy's doing a really good job of, is managing the end of your rope and the tail of your rope, making sure you keep it nicely coiled so it's not going to get caught on your feet, caught on stuff, and keeping that managed. I've seen so many problems with the management of your line causing a lot of problems. So, all right, we got it. Let's see if we can catch up on comments here. We're still way behind.
Were there any comments about the blue jeans on that one guy?
No, I haven't seen any yet. We'll see. How many rapids are hard on this section? I'd say the Jarbridge is like class 3 plus. It's not too hard, but it's just really low volume. So it's like, it's a challenging run just to hit it at the right flow. And what they're doing with those gear boats is hard. I mean, I'd argue.
Is this the only place where you would have to line or portage anything?
I think normally, but sometimes
stand out on its own.
There's other spots that can have wood in it, but this Jarbridge Falls is definitely the key one. I think there may have been some stuff switched around recently, but historically, this is the one main spot. But like I said, I think there's been some wood in some other places that can be a problem. All right, what's this one? There are two major drops like this, including this one. I think he's talking about this drop it. Oh yeah, Wally's World. Wally's World is very runnable. That's a fun rapid, unless it's changed since I've done it. The Jarbridge, there are now two portages. Yeah, so there's I heard a rumor about that. There are now two portages. Yeah. Okay.
This being one of them.
Yeah, and then Castle Grayskull. I heard that's a new portage that showed up recently. Thanks, Todd. The lower section of Bruno has a great section of class 4 on the bottom. Really? I thought the Bruno was all pretty mellow. Like, I remember it being pretty mellow. I didn't realize it was a class 4 section. That's cool. All right, what's Willie Bum Bum have to say? Oh, Willie Bum Bum, great point. Yeah, great point about lining. He's saying like lining from the bow and the stern always doesn't work best. Like depending on what you want to do is like if you clip it to one corner on one side, that'll help it belay, help it ferry itself in. Does that make sense, Steve?
Yeah.
Yeah, and Willie Bum, really good point. Yeah, that's an excellent point. Just clipping to the bow and the stern, not necessarily your best option for sure. I feel like one problem though is a lot of boats only have D-rings way over on the sides, and the quarter panel would probably be ideal in a lot of places to clip onto. So yeah, great point. Thanks, Willie Bum. And yeah, and practicing in easy spots definitely makes a big difference in working on it and getting comfortable to learn what you can do with it. All right. I've never heard of the Murtaugh. Have you heard of the Murtaugh?
Nope. I haven't done it.
All right, Jaron, where is the Murtaugh? All right, we're back caught up. Sweet. Man, that was brutal. Okay. So going back to, so I don't mind line like this, but Steve, I also agree with you. I'd rather have a throw bag than use the bow line in general, because I feel like he just coiled his up. That's kind of cool. So it's not all dragging there. That was kind of slick. But yeah, I like in general when I'm lining to use a throw bag, particularly if it has a longer lining on it. They look like
the Levi's.
Yeah.
Seems odd, maybe a little bit overdressed for Class 5 whitewater.
Yeah, this is by far the hardest spot on there. But yeah, it looks like they're doing a bow and a stern line. Yeah, they have a bow line on that one, and they're pulling it around in there. So, there we go. All right. And I see, I'm going to say this. I think doing this, I've seen more people get hurt doing this than lining boats. I think lining boats is a little sketchier because you can wrap the boat and stuff. But doing this, I've seen a lot of people slip and fall and get hurt, and put holes in boats. Yeah, they can be miserable. And this spot in particular, it gets really hot during the day sometimes. Like when we were there, it was pretty darn hot on those rocks. So it's kind of nice. Yeah. Yeah, but all right, cool. Let's see here. Any other? Oh, on the Snake River above Twin Falls. All right, there you go. All right, Shoshone Falls. Never done it, Jaron. I'll have to check it out. Yeah. All right.
Videos.
Yeah. We'll have to look for videos of the Murtaugh. Okay. And then what else we got? Zach had sent us one more thing here. Are you up for it, Steve?
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
I'm making a list of all the rivers that I'm not going to run. The Zambezi and the Jarbidge.
You know what, Steve? I think you would love the Jarbidge. I think the Jarbidge would be fantastic. It's like mostly really mellow. I'll just say this. Ali Greco and I kayaked it, and you know me, I'm not a super hardcore kayaker. Neither is Ali Greco. We both kayak the Jarbidge, and so
how many days is that?
I think we did between the Jarbidge and the Bruno. I want to say we did like 5 days, but I'm
support in a kayak.
Pardon?
Or did you have the R2 people carry all your gear for you?
They carried a little bit of it, but we had, I had most of my gear in my kayak. Yeah, I had most of my gear in my kayak. I think it'd be a really fun inflatable kayaking run as well. So just because that big portage, you can just carry your boat around and not worry about it. Yeah, so it is gorgeous. It's a very unique river. It's convenient right outside of Boise. So it's a fantastic run. Yeah, it's worth doing.
Easy on the list. Are there any hippos?
No hippos there. Yeah. Yeah. So and as Todd says, the Jarbidge by itself is usually an overnighter, but isn't it like between the Jarbidge? You guys did an overnight. We took more time. So I guess we just took our time, but I thought we did like between the Jarbidge and the Bruno, particularly if you don't live in the area, driving out there, we took some more time. Oh, is that a boat that's upside down? Here we go. They're pointing people over to swim. Okay. We're getting into, this is on the
Golly,
yes. All right, let's see what's going on here. So we go. There we go. Let's see what's happening with this. Have we seen anything of interest so far? Or they're just kind of looking for people. It looks like they're swimming for a while, huh? Oh, those people are still swimming. Wow. Oh,
Oof.
this is what we talked to. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy. Yeah, that person. Oh, yuck.
Did they go under the boat?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, they got stuck between that and that little. They got pinched, and then the person went below it. So there's someone else swimming over there. They're pulling someone on over there. Is that the other person, or is there? I guess that's the other person. Oh boy, ads. Sorry, guys. Oh, that was it. That was the. I don't know what Zach was talking about in this. I guess it was a spot where, yeah, Zach sent us this one to watch. He thought this would be a good one. I guess you gotta, that's the classic. I guess is when you're trying to pick up swimmers, you're not paying attention downstream, and then you almost swim everyone else. I think we've all been there. Maybe not you, Steve, but the rest of us. Yep. So maybe that's what Zach saw in that one. Yeah. So they're catching the eddy. Yeah.
They're paddling upstream.
Yeah, I mean, they're doing all the right things.
Down, right?
Yeah, they're doing all the right
good.
things.
I like that technique. I like that maneuver.
And they're waving to them, pointing people, swim, pointing positive, swim right, swim to the right shore. Yeah. It looks, I mean, they're lucky they didn't flip. The guide's got the boat back upright. Oh, someone just threw it. Oh, no, the boat's still right upside down. Someone just threw a throwbag. Yeah, someone just threw a throwbag. Yeah, I can see why Zach's. Yeah, and then okay, you're going downstream. You got the throwbag in the water, and you're trying to guide your raft. That's a mess. And I'm gonna say this, maybe this is a really, really scary spot. You don't want anyone to be swimming at all, but the throwbag in the water, that seems sketchy.
Aaron, how many times have you used a throwbag to rescue a active swimmer?
I'll just say, yeah. I mean, I've always gone with the raft, never from a raft, but I will say, the ones I've seen people actually use a throwbag to help rescue a swimmer actually was on the Jarbidge. Is a swim right above Jarbidge Falls. The person probably would have made to the eddy. They swim right above there, but someone was there with their waist throwbag, and they grabbed it out and were able to hit them with the throwbag. And it was it's wow, convenient you had that throwbag on there. And the guy's comment was yeah, I carry a throwbag on my waist just for that reason. Because he's otherwise, I never used a throwbag until I started carrying one on my waist, which was interesting. He's then I have one and it's available when I need it. And so that's when I've seen that. That was probably the best spot I've seen it used. I've seen it I've used them on the North Fork of the American, at Chamberlain Falls. There's that little eddy where people get stuck in Chamberlain Falls on River Left. But you don't even throw them the throwbag. You pull out whatever 2 arm lengths of rope and throw them the end, and they grab onto it, and you just pull them in. Which I will say is an argument for having a knot on the end when you're throwing the end of the non-bag end. It's nice to have a knot for them to help grab onto that end of the rope. But because I know a lot of people are not into having, they don't want knots on the loose end of the rope. But that's the other part. How about you?
Rarely, if ever. And I see, in a lot of the videos, you see the throwbag get deployed and go flying across the screen. And to me, it always seems man, I don't think it's as effective a tool as people want it to be. It's not it's this, just get the throwbag and we'll solve all of our problems. To me, it seems like it's a limited use device.
Yeah.
Premeditated. That's how I would decide. The times I've used a throwbag have always been planned, not spontaneous. This is the only thing I can do is throw a throwbag to that person from a raft as I'm floating down the river. That just doesn't seem to be the way I've used it.
No, I agree. Planned from the raft, I really haven't used it. I've heard a couple of stories, mostly high volume rivers, where somebody's getting sucked into some huge eddy and everyone's floating by and they're just all right, we got to throw a throwback because he was like, we don't want you going over there, and we're not gonna be able to get you. Like, and that's a place too. There's no rocks. It's, that's one where I'm like, okay, and if you're not going to Big Rapid, yeah, that sounds like a fairly reasonable idea. But that's the only time I've heard of, or an upside down like gear boat floating down in a high volume river and the person's swimming and there's no one around or something, which ideally you'd have people around. And I think that's one of the reasons I haven't had to do more of that, is because I've had good support. We've had good boat order and good boat spacing so that we have people to help. So you're not in that position. But I agree with you. Like, most of the throwbacks I'm using is like, oh, like we talked at Wildcat, where, hey, let's get a throwback to get a line out there to try to help pull it off or something like that. Or that person's on that rock and we want to pendulum in. So you have time to look around, plan. It's not like an immediate response.
And a boat is a really, really good rescue tool.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's better than a throwbag. It seems to me, most of the time.
I mean, what would you rather see? Your swim? Would you rather see a throwback in you, or there's a big raft right there that you're like, oh, pull me out of the water here? Yes. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, so I think if I was in another raft, my concentration would be on getting that raft in a position to rescue a swimmer rather than trying to get a throwback to that swimmer. But I'm sure there are places where you can't get that close, or you don't have enough time, or whatever, and that 50 feet of throwback can really make a difference. But I haven't had it happen very often in my career.
No, I think, I think ours is common. I could also see it being something, though, if you didn't have it at a certain point, you're like, man, we really need a throwback here. That'd be really helpful. So, and that, like I said, I think on shore, when you don't have your raft, that's the time you really want to have your throwback.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah. Premeditated.
Yeah, definitely. Are we ready to watch one more? Let's look at some more comments here quickly. All right. So yeah, you continue on the Bruno. It's another 3 to 4 days. Okay. Yeah. So that's what I thought, like 5 days. And if you're going to go out there, the Jarbidge, you might as well do the Bruno too, because the Bruno is spectacular. The Bruno is more mellowed than the Jarbidge, and I think it's easier to hit it at a good flow. But both are incredible. The Jarbidge might actually have some good fishing too. Does it, Steve? Have you heard of the Jarbidge for fishing?
I don't know.
I think the Jarbidge might have fishing, but don't quote me on that one. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, thanks, Franz. Yeah, we finally, it was hard to see the throwback, and it's like, that's why it was so sketchy, because I was like, I don't think Zach would just show it just for that. So, all right, so here we go. Let's here's one more. This is one. This kind of, I think this will be an interesting little conversation watching this one. Here, I'll go. Oh, I think we're about the good part here. They're paddling pretty hard. They're paddling well together. Oh.
Wow.
Have you had that happen to you before, where you've just hit something and just stopped you like that? Like, they all look like they went up. Usually, people fall back up the upstream side. It's not that often you hit a water feature that causes you to go flying to the downstream side. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of times you'll hit a rock or something, but like that feature, like, that just put them to a stop.
It looks pretty abrupt. Yeah, I've had that happen.
Oh yeah? Where have you had that type of thing happen? Like, what? Oh, that looks painful. Oh.
It happens more often than I think.
Really?
I'm surprised. I didn't think I was going to be in the minority. Yeah, but that doesn't look like that big of a feature. This doesn't.
No, it doesn't. Exactly. That's what I mean. Kind of the size of the feature. Like, I mean, I've definitely ones that hit you hard and like knock people. The wave itself knocks people out. But I feel like that more it wasn't the wave that knocked him out. It was just the boat just stopping. Like
it explains why they were paddling so hard in this part, like leading up to it, I guess.
To try to hit it really hard so that they get hammered.
Yeah, maybe that's the technique. Maybe that's
Okay.
They had to run that hole, but maybe that's they get surfed back in there, huh?
Yeah, totally. I wonder if they'd been leaning back as they went over, and that the bow hadn't dove so deep, if they would have like slid over the top, because it doesn't look like that big of a feature. I mean, it looks big.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah. I do like how, I will say, after they hit it, he did a good job when they're surfing of the guy did a good job of trying to keep the nose pointed into the, the guy's working pretty hard to keep that nose pointed into the water, like he's really trying to correct it so they can enter out of it. And that worked. So they didn't get to a side surf in there, which so that worked out really well. And just filled up and they kind of got popped out. That was a nice move.
Yeah.
And there's
Do you know where this is?
I have no idea where it is. Yeah, it's like, what's the name of the river? Yeah, what does this mean? Rafting, Tobias, Jean Pierre. I think it's just some guy went rafting, and who knows where. I don't know. I have any idea where it is.
NRS.
So
they're everywhere.
Yeah, interesting thing here. Nice job catching this eddy too, which that's phenomenal. And looks like that boat above them has had swimmers, so they're gonna go rescue him. But I'm looking at this. This is like a bankful river, and I think this is kind of a scary place to have swimmers. And they definitely didn't need to run that feature, and they chose to. Which, okay, they're doing a good job of cleaning up. Actually, I guess it's not bankful when you look down there and you see that cobble bar, but it still looks pretty full and not a lot of recovery pools. So I don't know. Gives me pause when people are running stuff like that when you don't need to, and then and then you see another boat do it, and all these people are swimming, and they're so spread out and they're not together. Yeah. So, I mean, this guy's doing a great job of cleaning up the mess. He clearly is a good guy, Yeah. Oh, and they got a safety kayaker too. Yeah, it looks like a safety kayaker. Get them all in. I mean, they seem to be doing well. Check the GoPro. Perfect. Yeah. All right. I thought he did a really good job of handling, like when they were surfing, straightening out, and then like he just drew that boat right into that eddy, and so it was in a good spot to come out and rescue all the swimmers. I mean, he picked everyone up.
There's two more swimmers coming down?
I'm not sure. I just see the safety kayaker right now with the one swimmer that they
or were there two attached? Looked like there were two people hanging on the side of the safety kayak.
Oh, were there? Oh, he had a paddle too.
I don't know.
Yeah.
The video is not particularly good from our end. It's sort of choppy.
Yeah. I hear you. Yeah, well, this is a pretty, that was a pretty clean rescue. It looks like they got everyone together. I mean, yeah, I'm not psyched on the exposure there, like with getting all those people, having all those people
in the water
swimming. That may be people in the water. And like when you have one boat that has swimmers and then you have another boat, that seems like a time to like back off a little bit. If one boat's dumped them all out and you're going to rescue them, maybe don't go for it again. I don't. Yeah. So let's see here. Yeah, Sean, it looked like a bucket, but I was thinking the same thing when I was looking at it, but then it seemed like it started to drain. So I don't think it was. It just drained super slow. Which
that's what it looked like to me.
And I think that's one of those problems I feel like with the glued-in floors when they don't have as many holes on. Like Steve, didn't you used to like drill extra holes in the bottom of boats?
Yeah, that was so we could tie stuff in, not to make. That was no science behind getting it to drain.
Oh, faster. I thought that's what you did to help it drain faster. I was always like, oh, that's cool. Steve puts all that effort into drilling extra holes in the bottom, make it drain faster. Because remember, they used to put holes all around the bottom, and then they started doing less and less and less. It's like kind of like I'm guessing cost cutting, right?
Oh, I don't know. I've never really gave it a lot of thought. I mean, you'd have to be dicing a lot of hairs to decide how much faster it's going to drain with 10 more holes in it. I guess you could do it mathematically.
But I would say the old boats had twice as many holes as the new boats.
But couldn't you argue that you don't want it to drain that fast?
Then why not have a bucket boat? I mean, I got you in one way. Depending on the run you're on, yeah, sometimes it's nice to have water in your boat. But then other runs, I would say like the main Tuolumne at high water, there's certain places where you'd be like, yeah, I'd be psyched if I had extra water in my boat right here. Or you're running Hermit Rapid, you're like, yeah, let's keep water in there until you get done. But if you're running something really technical, I want it emptied out as fast as possible. Like on
I think that
the
how
12
long
the-
did it take to, if you have a 14-foot boat,
takes a while.
we're talking about the difference between 15 seconds and 20 seconds to drain it? You think that's going to make a big difference?
Yeah, I think.
No.
Well, I'd say 10 to 20. I'd say 10 to 20 seconds. Particularly if you do
I'd rather have it.
the lace in floors. I mean, they just like they. I think it depends. There's a few variables. There's like the holes or laced in versus like the glued in with just the holes. And then I think the other thing is how much weight you have in the boat. You know, when it's a lot heavier, it definitely takes longer for it to empty out because it doesn't. You know, like there's not as much uplifting force, so it doesn't want to float up as quickly.
I think you.
I mean, you gotta use Bernoulli's equation. Like this is pretty intricate math. Like to try to figure this one out. Zach, we need Zach here today to help us out with this with the Bernoulli.
Zach with his 1.63 or length math. Let's get him working on this one. How fast you want it to bail out?
Yeah.
I've never wished that my boat would bail faster or slower.
Oh, I've had numerous times I wish it bailed faster. Where I'm just trying to slow down until it bails. It's like you're just telling everyone back pedal. We gotta keep back pedal until it bails. Keep back pedal. And then like watching it like slowly come up and like, okay, we got enough water out. Now we can like, and then we can like, and actually we're trying to catch an eddy and it's full of water. And as it's draining, you're like, oh, now we can start getting in that eddy. So I've definitely been there. I think picking up swimmers, that's a place where at the bottom of rapid you'd want to bail faster, so you're more agile. So here we go, Steve. You got more love for Steve.
Yeah, that's it was a good modification, but it wasn't to make the boat bails faster. It was to be able to put in those permanent loops through those holes so we could pull gear down to the floor rather than just tie it in.
And it was great. I really liked having those little holes. And I'll say the other thing that was nice, and I think we talk about this off and on, is when you tied stuff through those holes when they ran as paddle boats, there's still a little piece of webbing that was pretty snug in there, but it was loose enough that you could reach up to use it to help pull yourself into the raft when it's upside down onto the upside down.
I think if I ever get my own boat, I'm going to put those little loops, bunches of them along on the floor. Like I can't see. There's no reason not to do it. Is there? Is there a downside to it?
Entrapment, I guess, and drag.
Okay.
Drag.
That's going to bother me. I want my boat full. I already want it full of water, so that drag is not going to bother me.
If you're going to tie rocks to the bottom of your boat,
okay. Tell me this: do you want to put up with drag as you're rowing across flat water? The nuisance of that, compared to having the boat be upside down and not have anything to grab onto to get up on top of those. Between those two situations, which would you rather encounter?
Well, I would
not be able to pull yourself up on top of an upside down boat, or have it be harder to pull yourself up on top of it, or have a little more drag as you're rowing across flat water. No question in my mind.
I would say a little more. I might put a little piece in each of the four corners of the flat part. You know, the bottom boat and it goes this way. I might put a little piece, and it sits in low and sits out of the way, but I wouldn't like daisy chain it through everyone and have like this nice long daisy chain off of each one. That's what I was envisioning, like this daisy chain line, just so you could grab and just like walk up it, like almost like a ladder. So
someday maybe you will think that, but I do like those little loops through the floors, and having them, the ones that you're not using to tie something into, that are loose enough that you can get your hand on there and grab it, is really, really helpful. We put them on our inflatable kayaks because it makes it easier to carry them when you have to lift them up to portage them, when you have to lift them up, put them on a boat, you have to tie them in. To have that loose loop through the middle of the floor is really, really helpful. Be able to pull yourself on top of it, reach up and flip it over. And it seems like it's such a small, easy thing to do. You don't have to do it every trip.
It's permanent.
When you run, so Aaron, high water Tuolumne trip, you're going to put a flip line on your boat.
Depends what I'm running. Depends the craft I'm running. I won't put a flip line on. If I'm running Avons with the piece of material already in the bottom, I don't need a flip line. I won't.
So that was where I was going.
Yeah.
But if you were down there at high water in a 14-foot boat, commercial trip, standard procedure is to put some kind of a flip line on there, which is a little bit of a nuisance. You got to rig your boat differently for that water.
Yeah.
If those things were just on there, if you had those 4 loops in each corner, one in each corner,
No,
seems like you'd and then if it's a low water trip and you flip, you're not like, oh, wish I'd put my flip line on.
No, and
seems like a good thing. I would
and if you're and if you're a paddle boat and you climb up down upside down top, you can just clip your paddle tee into that little piece of webbing and use your paddle to just flip it back over. And you don't even have to get out your flip line or anything. It's really fast and effective. Yeah, I'm a huge fan. I like those little pieces of material. And I'll say, Steve, I also like what you did, how you like in the back corner through the floor. I mean, do it at your own risk if you're thinking about doing this, but how you drilled the extra holes and put an extra piece of webbing like in the high back corner for like a yearboat, so you could tie stuff down into the floor versus just tying on top. Because sometimes you don't have enough stuff, or it was just nice to be able to tie stuff down to the floor, like coolers, or just sort of say every once in a while something a little awkward. Yeah.
And that would be a good handle if you weren't using it, if it wasn't snug to the boat. Once you tie something into it and pull it tight to the boat, it pretty much loses its effect. Then it's frustrating. Then it's like, oh, bummer. Thing would be so good if it wasn't tight. But I just don't know. I don't know the downside to it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I don't know the downside to it either. I think a little entrapment concerns. I think we missed this comment. I just noticed this comment here. Do you fellas have any thoughts about the use of rock climbing harness and belay device to help more safely line a boat down a difficult rapid? Well, what I say, Heidi, that's an interesting thought. Maybe certain spots, but in general, like that's why I like the catch to not walk with. Well, first of all, not walk with the boat and just be like, okay, I'm going to go to that very stable spot and sit there, or in belay. I really like having someone as a spotter behind that person to grab their life jacket. I think that works really well as a second person for the belayer. You know, they're behind and ready to grab the life jacket in case they lose balance. Having that second person there to spot them is good. I think that's a lot of ropes, and that gets really complicated.
And I think that if you are a rock climber and you had a lot of experience with that, I think you could probably steal a lot of techniques from rock climbing and apply them to lining boats. I've seen people use, I don't rock climb, so I don't know, but I think it's called a figure 8 plate, or there's some device they make that adds friction to a belaying device.
Yeah.
That seems like it'd be really helpful when you're belaying a boat sometimes, or lining a boat sometimes. There's a lot of stress and strain, and it pulls on your hands. And,
yeah, totally.
Yeah, I think if you knew you were doing with ropes, you could probably be a lot better than me.
Yeah, that would be, you could do something like that. Going back to the idea of the harness, I have seen some people who've clipped into their rescue harness and used it in that manner, which it's like not totally meant for that, but if it helps you keep you from falling in the river, you know, maybe not an idea to clip off to the back and have yourself tied off. Sure, if you want to do that. I've seen people do that. I don't know the ins and outs. I'm not like going to recommend that at all. I'll just say I've seen people do that in that similar approach. I would think twice about belaying places where you're worried about falling in that manner and what you're doing. If it's that sketchy, like that makes me just a little nervous and causes me pause. So, Sean, thanks for the note. Hopefully you're back to work. And here we go. Oh, slipped at Salmon Falls this spring and nearly lost my cat boat. Yeah, I mean, and I'm going to say a couple of things there. I'm like, I don't know if we've talked about this before, shoes. I think your river shoes are almost more important than your life jacket a lot of days on the river. And I'm a huge proponent of high volume life jackets. I know, Steve, you like high volume jackets too, from what I remember. But having great shoes, and that's like when we're talking about lining boats, that's why I like the walk down catch. So you're not moving your footing and walking while lining the boat. You're stationary. You can be sitting. You've got a good spot. Because once you start moving, you're much more likely to slip. The situation gets much more dynamic. So, that sounds burly. Stevie, you seem like you got some thoughts.
Ropes and rafts are dangerous combinations, and you got to slow everything down when you start working with those two things together. And I think we've all learned to slow down because we got pulled over some rocks, or we slipped and fell, or we tried to go a little bit faster than we should have. And it is, winding a boat is really, really slow. And that's by design. Like, that's not a bad thing. I think you just have to, if you're going to do it, you commit to that. Say, hey, we're doing this slowly. We're going to move. We're just going to go slow. That's the part of the plan. The faster you try and go do it fast, and you can get hurt.
Yeah, a good point. Yeah, take your time. And like we're talking about that a lot. You talk about like more people get hurt getting in and out of the boats and walking on shore than they do on the river. And I think, you talk like Steve, like you're saying, for lining boats, you even up that the probability of an injury greatly. Just like, because then you got the ropes, you've got all this force on people, and it's already sketchy on the shoreline. We already know that's a dangerous spot, and then you add that to it. So, yeah, good point.
I think if I was, again, this is when I get my own boat and I get my own wrap kit, I'm going to put a pair of gloves in my wrap kit. But I'm not like, you pull on a rope, it hurts.
You and Zach would love this. Zach always used to. I've seen Zach pulls crazy hard, and he like tears up his hands because he pulls so hard on the rope. And my feeling is, if you're pulling that hard on the rope, maybe you should be doing something else different. Maybe do something else different. Maybe make another change. Maybe look at the forces on the boat and think like, maybe we need to do something different. Like,
I'm just going to get gloves.
How about you
and other things? But I'm only bringing one pair. And after you do your little sea anchor move, and I have to pull you back in the boat, I'm not going to let you borrow my gloves.
Well,
you're going to borrow my gloves when you do the sea anchor off the bow of our boat.
Well, I will say the sea anchor is not my preferred option. I would start off with deflating tubes, to be clear.
It's now my preferred option when I'm with you.
Oh, good. You're going to purposely get us stuck.
I can't wait. I'm going to get stuck on purpose.
Oh,
Aaron, time for the sea anchor. Here you go. You want to borrow my gloves?
So are you going with the all leather, or are you going with the modern, like the modern kind of stretchier ones that got the coated material on them?
I'm going to have to try some out and get back to you.
All right. Yeah,
I'll
cool.
report back. But you know what I thought would be a fun show for you guys to do, and maybe it's part of the Gear Garage more than this, but some little gadget show. Like all those gadgets.
Zach loves gadgets. You and Zach can do that. I'm all about gadgets. I'm about using
Gloves
this.
Would be in my gadget bag.
Bring less. I'm about this. Bring less. Work smarter, not harder.
Aaron, your best gadget is asking other people to pull on the rope to do the work.
Oh, here you go, Steve. This is something else you could look forward to. Sure, you still want me to do that sea anchor?
Now I'm not so excited about having Aaron do it anymore. We'll have to make sure you tie your pants on.
Yeah, make sure they're secure. Oh man, that would be. I can see that happening too. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Oh, sweet. Well, hey, one more. Then I questioned whether lining a cat from the tube ends or the side is better. Oh, I think lining cats is actually much harder than lining a raft. I have not had nearly the success with lining cats because of that. Like, you could put it on the side of the tube, you can put it on the frame in the middle between the tubes, you can put it on the end of one tube. I think this goes back a little bit to what Willie was talking about in terms of, if you put it on one tube, it's going to pendulum one way. So you got to think a lot about where you're putting it. And I think it really would depend on what you're trying to do with the boat. If you're trying to kick it out and you want to ferry back in, then I put it probably on the tube that's going to be the farthest away from the side I want to ferry back to. So it'll cut back across the current nicely. But yeah, it's harder too, because like the cats get stuck on stuff more. They'll like go down, like the raft will kind of hit and pivot. It goes through stuff better, while the cat likes to get trapped. Cats are much trickier to line. That's for sure. Yeah. And
maybe where two ropes might work better.
Oh, there you go. The two ropes.
Opposite corners, right?
Yeah, you could pull it around stuff, and the cats are usually so light you can just like yank it over things. Like, oh, it's stuck on some rocks, whatever. I'll just pull it across. Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you create an anchor off the frame? Are we talking about for lining rafts, or I'm assuming we're talking about for lining
about
rafts?
the cat. And that's an interesting point. I was wondering about that. Could you make a triangle off the front and back points to be able to anchor in the middle, to sort of create the middle point that you would that you'd have on a raft? Would that be helpful?
Yeah, you could. I mean, I've done it, just tied it to the, like on
the frame in the middle.
The frame in the middle in the front right there, just tied it in the middle. It catches up on the tube sometimes a little bit. It gets a little awkward sometimes, but that works. And I think, like you can spend all this time creating this complex system of ropes coming together, which might work better, but then they need to be set better. And then it's more likely to have something go wrong, and it takes that much longer. So I'm about once again, by using my brain and keeping it simple and having simple tools. Right,
Aaron, do you ever think there would be an advantage? I'm thinking way outside the box here. I've never thought about lining a boat that much before. But going back to those loops underneath on the floor of the boat, would there ever be an advantage to being able to line from a lower point on the boat than a higher point?
Yeah, I think there could be. It's interesting to think about. I don't like it because I think it's more likely to get snagged on something. Have the rope lower. I like the rope up above the water from that perspective. But yeah, I could see like kind of on the side, like if you need to lift it up over something, and like if it's going to float up and get stuck on this like rock, and you want to pull this tube up, if you're underneath, you'll really be able to pull it up more.
I never thought about it.
Versus pulling it into something. Yeah, that is interesting.
Where you attach that rope, you could probably play around with that, and there's probably people who have done it.
Yeah, and this is what Heidi said. Yeah, Heidi, I've had that problem too. Kept getting the rope caught between the tubes inside the frame. Yeah, it was kind of annoying. I've seen that. Yeah. I mean, you could do some sort of.
How do you undo that?
Yeah.
Whip it out around from underneath there.
Yeah, and like that's why probably. But a lot of the cat tubes don't have places to tie off as well, right? Like up on the ends. Most of them, like maybe I think some of the airboats have the metal things on the ends of the tubes, but a lot of tubes don't have D-rings on the ends of them for the cat tubes. So
that's right. Our cats don't have D-rings on the end.
So you either got to go the frame, and I'd probably go on the out. I'd probably look at it and go on the outside and probably clip to the outside, and don't line your cat. So they're just way harder. It's amazing how much harder they are to line. They just don't pivot the same, and I find much more of a struggle. Self-equalizing anchor off the frame. Yeah, Zach, you could definitely do it. I don't even think you need the self-equalizing part though, because I don't think you're worried about the frame breaking. Like I don't see the purpose of the self-equalizing on the frame, because the idea in my mind is that you're not putting too much strain on the D-rings. That frame, if you're bending that, your rope's going to break before you bend the frame, right?
But he might mean just sort of self-centering, like so that it
like and then come out farther. Yeah.
No,
it might be interesting. Yeah. I mean, I'd say play with it, Heidi, and let us know what you see and how it works for you. Because I now that you talk about lining cats, I think about every time I have to line a cat, I'm like, I have to line a cat. It's like, I haven't done that much, but it just I've always found it harder. Well, cool. Should we wrap this one up, Steve? We made an hour and a half. I thought we were gonna make it like 20 minutes without Zach here.
This has been fun.
Yeah, that was great.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on. Hey, don't hang up when I go to close it down today. By the way, just stay on. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So hey, you guys. Want to thank all of you guys for tuning in today. And Zach should be back again next week. We'll be back here next Friday. Daylight savings time changes this weekend. Is that correct? So next week, we're going to be same time Pacific time. So we'll stay Pacific time. So those of you in Arizona and like me in Hawaii, we're going to have to deal with a relative change of time. So And so, you guys, thanks again for tuning in. If you haven't hit that like button, please hit that like button. Of course, always subscribe. Wasn't there something else Zach was trying to sell? Zach's always trying to sell something else. Check out something else. But if you guys have footage you want to watch, you want us to watch or want us to review, you can send to me, Aaron, at riversanoceans.com. But yeah, Steve, thanks again for coming on. It was great. It was great doing this with you. It's so fun. So
Good to see you.
Yeah, good seeing you too. And I got to find the little outro.